not going back to work due to lack of PPEs as well as issues with their salaries. They say that they're earning less to afford them to go back to work. What is government going to do, given that already we're behind syllabuses and everything to catch up for exams? What are the other plans for government to deal with this issue, which they said that they have declared a strike? Then another goes to the Minister for Industry, who understands the report on the vulnerability. How many people are exposed to hunger and starvation in the country from the report? The report not state the number of people who are vulnerable to hunger as of now. We also read so many reports from the World, from the WFP and other agencies. But from government perspective, how many people are in need of food supplements between now and next holiday season? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
If I can say, SABC News. Chair, you indicated that there was a report to say the COVID-19 had not peaked as previously reported, but it seems the country is already reopening. Pretty much every other sector is now open. Does this not pose a risk to the citizens, since the pandemic has not peaked for the country? Don't you think you're actually exposing people rather than keeping on being safe? Thank you.
Yes, please.
John Cassin, Chairman of the SABC. My question is almost similar to what Polisani said, but I'll give an example of what is happening in some of the schools. I'll call this school, School A, is in Harare. It has 1,300 students. They are paying 900 RTGS per student, and that comes to about 1.1 million. They ended up receiving, or they last received, anything from the parents in March. Some did not even pay because parents are paying on installment. So they did not receive anything from us up to now. Out of 1,300 students, this school has got about 294 students coming back for examinations. That's Form 6 and Form 4. And if they are still to pay $900 that they will pay, it's coming out to about 200,000. It's not even coming to about 1.1 million. Now the schools are saying, with 200,000 against the budget of 1.1 million, a school cannot operate. They need cleaners at the school, they need PPEs, they need electricity, water, especially water is a requirement now for schools to operate because of COVID-19. So many overheads cannot be met with a budget deficit of maybe close to about 800,000. Government at one time indicated that you were going to assist schools with funding, but later on we had it was more to do with boreholes, something like that, even though the budget you mentioned was about 600 million. How are you going to cushion parents so that when the schools decide to increase fees, the parents are not forced to pay new fees to cater for the school budget when they open schools next week, when the students who are just coming back is maybe just 1%. 294 students are likely going now to cater for 1.1 million, which is the total budget for the school. That's what they are seeing now in most schools. What is government going to do?
I think I got a lesson. Very normal person. I have been patient. I want to understand what is all right. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Blessed Mklam. I'm Hutchinson CD Radio. My question goes to the chair. Chair, I want to understand that as the entire spectrum of the economy is opening, there's one sector that government appears not intent or does not want to see open. This is the private players in the transport sector, the Combis and Woolies. Why the reluctance to ensure that transport is a free flow of transport? My other question goes to the Minister of Tertiary and Education. We have noted that some universities are now quoting fees in USD. Government insists and continues to pay people another TGS, although itself continues to receive. And when people pay in USD, why is it cool?
Okay, that's
somewhere, you know, like message is always asking two. The president also did ask two. I think we've got okay, thank you very much, Chief Secretary. The first question was directed to the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Honorable Matero. He is actually saying teachers have indicated that they are not going to get to work. They are mentioning PPEs, lack of PPEs, low salary. And he wants to know what the government is going to do, considering that you have already moved to the opening up of schools. In fact, he says teachers have declared this plan.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The question is from Olisani Nyinde. Yes, as we all know, the government and the representatives of public employees are in the middle of discussions. Negotiations are going on. That is a strike, I'm hearing it for the first time. And the PPE issue, all teachers will receive PPE, will be protected. The learners, the teachers, the non-teaching staff, everybody will be protected. In fact, we're in the middle of, I'm going to Mashingo tomorrow just to see another officials and deputy ministers from all over the country to make sure that all the necessary preventive measures are in place. So, you can rest assured what is required at each school, at each public school, will be available when the school is open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matema. And the next question, again from the same personal, this is directed to the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Dr. Zenza. He wants to know how many people are exposed to hunger as of now, between now and this time.
I want to thank Consalomwe for the question because it relates to the Zimberg report. The role of the Zimberg report is to measure vulnerability and the level of hunger in the country. We have the statistics, and the statistics are gathered from key informants at village, district, provincial, and national level, right across Zimbabwe. Our data has shown that we are 95% accurate. And the variables for measuring poverty right across include looking at food insecure households, the level of health, education, and also levels of malnutrition. That way we were able to gather the data that then guides us in terms of policy and implementation. So in terms of having the exact number, we don't have the exact number, but we can say our data is 95% correct, which then guides us in terms of providing the safety nets. Government is to be complimented for what it has done in terms of meeting the food insecurity of the nation. We've got coordinating committees, we have the disaster mitigation, as well as the social safety net through social welfare. And also throughout this year, government also introduced the rolling subsidy as well as the cash transfers. So overall, the government's response to hunger has been quite remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Siganzenza. The next question is directed to the chairperson of the Inter-Ministerial Task Force on COVID-19, and this is coming from Effort to Secure, that's SAPC. And the question is, with all the opening up and the relaxation, does this not pose a risk to the people? Don't you think you're exposing the people to this pandemic? Honorable Minister of Defense.
Thank you, Minister Muchanga. We received a report just yesterday from the Experts Advisory Committee, which did conduct a modeling exercise on the current local and international COVID-19 data, and they came up with the situation for Zimbabwe, which indicated that the figures which they have identified did not reach the modeled figures which show the positive effect of our own intervention, government efforts. What I want to demonstrate is that this is scientific, and whatever decisions we make are guided by science. And the decision for us to open is based on the statistics that we are currently receiving on a weekly basis. And any intervention to any possible challenges are well researched, and there is clear planning to make sure that preventive strategies are put in place to ensure that there won't be any spike in the pandemic. So we are very satisfied that government has managed to contain the virus, and the opening up will not affect our figures and our standing at the moment. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of that Committee on COVID-19. Now we go to the next question. This was from Kasim, SAPC, in the oral demonstration of the story of a school, which is called School B. Well, this is directed to you, Minister of Primary and Secondary Education. All what he's trying to say is the school is with 1,300 normally. And now that only about 294 students are going back to school, and they are paying 900 RTGs. That means that the school is only getting 200,000 instead of the 1.1 million. And what it means is the school cannot operate with a budget deficit of about 800,000. What is government going to do to make sure the school cannot operate? Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. For a start, we can all rest assured that no school will be closed because for any reason, and except if it's there is fire or totally uncontrollable event, but no school will be closed because of school fees. In any case, Kasim, the issue of school fees, all schools know the procedures. We won't allow any school to close because the procedures have not been followed. All schools know the procedures, and all schools have either SDC, schools development committees, or board members, because we're talking not just of public schools, but of all schools in Zimbabwe, whether private or independent or mission schools. Therefore, they all know what they need to do for fees to go up. The procedure is very clear. Every increase of fees has to be approved by permanent secretary. And I have not received anything from school B complaining that they don't have enough money. The doors are open, the secretary's doors are open, and the school will continue like it has always continued. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The school should be open. Now to Blessed Chana, Hadri Soul. This we will ask you, the chair, but we are talking here about private sector, whereas in the transport sector, and it's part of the interministerial task force issues which is being dealt with by the ad hoc committee. And I will direct this question to you, Honorable Chair of the ad hoc committee. Blessed wants to know why government is reluctant to open up private sector into public transport.
Thank you very much. The decision which was reached by government to make sure that ZUPCO enjoyed the monopoly that time was because our first target was not as wide as possible, and as we indicated earlier on, that the measures that we had in place were mainly targeting prevention as opposed to cure. And as we have been observing the developments, the number of new infections coming under control, and also the opening of quite a number of sectors, now we see a need to bring in other players. Originally, every private operator who wanted to operate had to register with ZUPCO. But we realized that ZUPCO also has some challenges. There are now new players in the economy, and therefore the need that we open up, especially intercity transport. Those that are legal, when the companies, they will be required to register with the Ministry of Transport. And we do hope that with that window, those companies will have to approach the relevant ministry and comply with the rules and regulations. So they are not being bad if they are illegal, because we see a lot of them which are not roadworthy, some are not registered, and always avoid going through the official points. So we are ready to engage, but not in shika-shika. That one is still a nuisance, but the companies, there is that opportunity where they can approach the relevant authorities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And then last but not least, the first 4 questions. Universities, this was from Blessed Mfana once again, and this is directed to you, Professor Mugura. It says universities are quoting fees in US dollars, and yet government continues to pay CPAs in Zimbabwe dollars. What do you say?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Blessed, for that question. Of course, it was not discussed in Cabinet, but you require an answer, so I will give you an answer.
there is no policy. Our policy, our ordinances that we signed is Zimbabwe dollars. And there is no policy which says the universities should pay in US dollars. On the other hand, of course, I think there was some social media circulation to quoting fees at MSU and USEC. That's all fictitious. I mean, there is freedom, so people can play around with digits and so forth, but that's not true. The university ordinances that were signed in January are still in effect at this moment. I think.
Thank you, Professor Mobila. That brings us to the end of the first round. Chief Secretary, can you get this?
Thank you. Start with you.
Thank you, Chairman from Zimbabwe TV. My first question goes to the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education. You highlighted the second phase and third phase of opening of schools. What will be the structure of the new term? Are they going to be learning throughout Christmas holiday? When are they likely to come to an end of this new term? And then my second question goes to the Minister of Transport with development that a number of places are going to be made locally. How is the tendering process going to be done to ensure that we don't have these issues of corruption coming up again like we saw in the Ministry of Health a couple of months back? And also, are you partnering with local institutions like we saw in the production of PPEs with universities and schools? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please. At the back.
My question is the follow-up to the Ministry of...
I can hardly hear you.
Yes.
Chakunda Mandura, freelance. My question is directed to the Minister of Industry and Commerce. She indicated that 95% of the report of the vulnerability report is accurate, but I wanted the figures. 95% of what? Is it 95% of 2 people or 95% of 100 people?
Okay. Yes, please.
My name is Debson Mandira from ZBC. It's a follow-up question on Takuchi and also question in regards to the structure of the school's term, the first approach that he was highlighted by Chair. I would like to know the integration process. And I understand that most private schools are on online lessons and their terms are currently running at the moment. And I would like to know the Ministry's position with regards to the fee structure of those, maybe the private schools. I understand parents have been complaining about these online schools. So basically I would like to understand the integration process of the private schools terms as well as the structure that has been announced today.
Okay. The last one? Yes, please.
My question for again. The World Program puts the vulnerability report at 8 million.
Who is talking towards you?
Okay, so it's a follow-up. The World Food Program puts the vulnerability people are vulnerable at 8 million. UNICEF puts the children not malnourished at 4.5 million. What is government's figures? That's the simple question. Surely it can't be a thumbs up figure or probably a figure from a policy is not figure. We talk about vulnerability and they talk of 100%.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Takuchi Hambakwe, I was missing you.
I'm back.
It's nice to see you back.
Yes.
And Takuchi Hambakwe's question is directed to you, Honorable Minister of Primary and Secondary Education. He wants to know what will be the structure of the terms, and I think you can tackle that together with Debson from ZPC, who also says what is the structure of school's term. He wants to know the integration process between the private school terms and what you have just announced today, and also the fee structure of those online schools. Honorable Minister.
And thank you, Honorable Chair. Classes for ECD A and B, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Form 1s and 2 will resume school under the following conditions. Or the conditions will include some of the things that I'm going to mention here. Schools will arrange morning and afternoon sessions to accommodate all learners. Single session and rural day schools. Schools will arrange alternate schooling days for non-examination classes, e.g. ECD, grade 3, attend school on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, while grade 4 and 5 attend school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Similar arrangements will apply to rural secondary schools. And rural and urban mega schools, that is youth schools, maintain WS sessions for non-examination classes with half the school coming on alternate days, e.g. Form 1 and 2, to attend on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, while Forms 3 and 5 attend on Tuesdays and Fridays. The similar arrangement will apply for regular primary schools. What I was saying is that it will depend quite a bit on the size of the schools, the number of learners at each school, and as you know, if classrooms in the past were 70 now by law, by guidance from the World WHO, guidance from Cabinet, guidance from the Minister of Health and Child Care, we won't allow a situation where more than 30 learners attend a class. Therefore, there is definitely a need for more teachers to come in, to be employed and participate. But in any case, the advantage of that as well is that before all the learners come back to school, we are going to have, each school will necessarily have more teachers available so that they assist each other. This is a COVID-19 situation. Nobody created it, so we'll work accordingly and assist as much as we can all the learners and the teachers at each school. And in terms of school fees, what we are paying for online or in private schools, public schools, the issue is, like I said earlier, each school has a school development committee. Each school has a board. The parents, therefore, are expected, and they have always been expected, and they have always participated in what happens at each school. So parents are encouraged all the time that before the school administration or the owners of a school make any decisions, they know up to 20%, particularly in public schools, 20% of parents attending. They must all agree. And the ministry will want to see the minutes of the meetings that will have taken place before any fees are increased. And in any case, no school is supposed to increase fees without the permanent secretary or I, as the minister, approving them. So whether the school is private or public, the rules still apply. They should not increase whatsoever without following the known procedures or requirements that have been there in place for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that comprehensive answer to Taku Chambako's concern. And the next question again from Taku is directed to the Minister of Transport and Infrastructural Development. And this is in line with the proposal for localization of the production of vehicle number plates. And its question is whether the tender procedures will be followed so that there is no corruption. And also we would like to know whether you will be partnering with local companies. Minister.
Thank you, Taku. Well, as you are aware, we are experiencing acute shortage of number plates. And this is causing quite a lot of inconveniences, loss of revenue, and also criminal activities arise from the shortage of these number plates. So government took a position that we need to remedy this. And looking at the brains that we have in this country, the universities, the polytechnics, and the scientists that are here, it is found prudent that we take it locally. And this has been approved by the government cabinet after a thorough research, which my colleague might need to just add on, thorough research and research and design that came up with appropriate technology and also brought about a lower cost that is affordable, almost by 50% reduction in cost. So this is quite remarkable, and this then will give access to many of our people who are motorists. But I have to answer your question. Government is going it along. This is a sensitive issue in number plates. It will be done by government in collaboration with the university in terms of research and design. And this will be funded through a venture fund, because the financials that came out from the study show that there is a high rate of return on this project. It can pay for itself. So the market is there and the figures make sense. So this is one of our milestones in the motor industry. As you are aware, people are crying all over. The trucks, cargo trucks, cross-border traders, and then new cars, all these number plates, if they are not there, then there's chaos. So this is a good intervention, I think.
Thank you, Minister William Matiza, and you will do this in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher and Teacher Education. Let me at this point give the Honorable Minister, Professor Mugira, also an opportunity to comment on the questions.
Thank you very much, and it has been said by Honorable Matiza. With the Ministry of Transport, institutions of higher learning were actually tasked to come up with a number plate that is secure enough and that exceeds the current security, including the vehicle, or what we call vehicle number plate registration system, and they came up with a full proposal of how it will be done, including the cost and everything. So this is complete. A normal country develops through innovation, and we are a normal country. We are developing through innovation, our universities, our technical colleges, and under the policy and instruction of government, when they are supported, they can do a lot of things. So there is no tender which we are talking about here. We are going to make, we cannot tender for our own salary that we are cooking in our own house. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. We are talking about both sides of the Thank you very much, and I would like to go to the last, but not least, two questions arose from the presentation from Minister of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Nzenza. Takunda wants to understand more about that 95% referred to the ZIMPAC, and then Torisani Mube is saying, please let us know what is government figures. World Food Program is putting the figure of those food insecure families at 8 million. What is government figures? Honorable Dr. Nzenza.
I want to thank the journalists for the two questions. I presented 95% of the data based on the ZIMVAC analysis of the statistics. I would like to say numbers can never be 100% accurate. However, we have numbers that we have as government. The ZIMVAC report number of those who are hungry is about 5.4+ million. The WFP here's another number. UNICEF, here's another number. But the most important question is, how are they measuring? And what are the variables that they are using when they are measuring hunger? When we look at hunger, we're looking at nutrition status, issues of water, sanitation, access to basic needs, which also include shelter and health. For example, what also came out of the Zimbark report is that you can ask someone, I need Nobel 5, but I need Ainenzara. I need Nobel 8 as Ainenzara. So one of the key recommendations from that report is that if you've got more than 5 cattle, you're better off selling some of those cattle that are over 5 so that you can be food insecure. As a government, apart from the various mitigation measures that we've put in place to promote social protection, we have the Agriculture Recovery Program, the Pumbudza. So the combination of Pumbudza and the Social Protection Network, the Social Protection Safety Net, is guided by the outcome of the Zimbark report, will help us implement and follow the policy guidelines that will ensure that our people will not continue to be food insecure. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you very much, Minister Dr. Sidenziasa. And that brings us to the end of today's briefing. Thank you. I just want to thank my honorable minister, the Chief Secretary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And also members of the media will come to the end of our report. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.